guys, welcome back to my channel. It is I, Jessie, and this is a book haul because your girl has collected books over the course of months. There is quite a lot, and I don't want to spend too much time on each of them because that's gonna be a long video for me to edit, and that's not fun. So, as you guys probably know, I haven't been really reading a lot lately, or let alone doing videos on my booktube channel, because work life has been crazy, and it's toned down a little bit because of summer, but I finally found time to do this video because it's been long awaited. But yeah, and I really do want to get to reading a lot more than I have been recently. I'm excited about these books. Obviously, I mean, like, why did I get them if I weren't excited about it or gonna read them? As my TBR show is saying, hello, you say you're gonna read us too. So the first book I am going to share with y'all, oh, this is in no order whatsoever. I'm just blindly picking from the pile. Hi, Sasha. If you heard that, my cat was saying hello. Boo-boos, come here. Say hi. You came in here, mister. Say hi. Oh, bright lights. Say hi, Boo-boos. His name is not Boo-boos. His name is Sasha. He's a very sassy cat, aren't you? Sassy cat, that's purring. I can hear you. Okay. Are you gonna say anything else to the camera, or can I continue? You're just gonna continue purring? Okay. Well, get down. So the first book I am going to share with y'all is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, and this is the prequel to The Hate You Give. It's Maverick's story. And in The Hate You Give, it's his daughter Star, and now it's his time and his story to tell. And sorry, there's a lot of cat hair. And his story to tell. And I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I mean, Angie Thomas is like a really good author to begin with, so at least I don't really have to know much going into an Angie Thomas book. The next book is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, and this is like a mystery thriller book. I've already read it. It's okay. Yeah, it reminds me like a cross between The Purge and the movie Get Out. Like, if that director / producer like made this into like a TV movie or a movie or a Netflix movie, I can see that happening, and I think he would do it justice. But anywho, Sydney Green is Brooklyn born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting like weeds, for sale signs are popping up overnight, and the neighbors she's known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour, and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor, Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear? It was an okay book, but yeah. The next book is a book I got from January of this year, Book of the Month book box, and that is The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. I'm sorry. This is like a hate to love romance, I think, by like a, why don't I just read this? Daisy Patel is a software engineer who understands lists and logic better than bosses and boyfriends. With her life all planned out and no interest in love, the one thing she can't give her family is the marriage they expect. Left with few options, she asks her childhood crush to be her decoy fiancé. Liam Murphy is a venture capitalist with something to prove. When he learns that his inheritance is contingent on being married, he realizes his best friend's little sister has a perfect solution to his problem. A marriage of convenience will get Daisy's matchmaking relatives off her back and fulfill the terms of his late grandfather's will. If only he hadn't broken her tender teenage heart 10 years ago. This sounds right up my alley and so cute and like such a good, it just seems like a good summer read. But it does seem like kind of like a hefty book. Well, not that bad. They like 340 pages. And plus, isn't this really pretty? So the next book I have here to show y'all is a book that I got from the Bookish Book Box, I believe. I just don't know what box it was, but I know it was the Bookish Book Box, so I just don't know which month. And that is Unchosen by Catherine Blair. And like, look at that cover. Pretty. I know this is like a dystopian book. Charlotte Holloway, The World Ended Twice. The first was when her childhood crush, Dean, fell in love with her older sister. The second was when crimson, a curse spread through eye contact, turned the majority of humanity into flesh-eating monsters. Neither end of the world changed Charlotte. She's still in the shadows of her sibling. Her popular older sister, Harlow, now commands forces of survivors, and her talented younger sister, Vanessa, is the chosen one, who legend has it can end the curse. When their settlement is raided by those seeking the chosen one, Charlotte makes a reckless decision to save Vanessa. She takes her place as a prisoner. The word spreads across the 7 seas, and the chosen one has been found. But when Dean's life is threatened and a resistance looms on the horizon, the lie keeping Charlotte alive begins to unravel. She'll have to break free, forge new bonds, and choose her own destiny if she has any hope of saving her sisters, her love, and maybe even the world. Yes. And it says that this is like a feminist fantasy about independence, identity, and choice, because sometimes the end is just a new beginning. No? No? Yes. Yeah, it's signed. That's a cool thing about the Bookish Book Box. They're signed. So the next book I have here is a sequel, and that's Stone Cold Touch by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is the sequel. Let me see if I can get it. Okay. To White Hot Kiss by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It's the Dark Elements series. It's a trilogy, but I just have the first 2. And since this is the sequel, I'm just going to tell y'all what this is about. 17-year-old Layla just wants to be normal, fit in at school, and go out on a real date with the gorgeous Zane, whom she's crushed on forever. Trouble is, Zane treats Layla like a sister, and Layla is anything but normal. She's half demon, half gargoyle, and with abilities no one else possesses. And even Zane is a warden, part of the race of gargoyles tasked with hunting demons and keeping humanity safe. Layla's kiss will kill anything with a soul, including him. Then she meets Roth, a tattooed, simply hot demon who claims to know her secrets. Though Layla knows she has to stay away, it's tough when that whole no-kissing thing isn't an issue. Trusting Roth could ruin her chances with Zane, and brand her a traitor to the Warden family that raised her. But as Layla discovers she's the sole reason for a violent demon uprising, kissing the enemy suddenly pales in comparison to the looming end of the world. Yes. So, find out what this is about from reading this. This next book is like kind of a sequel, but you don't have to read them in order, like, for a sequel. It's just like a spin-off, rather. And that is Spirit and Dust by Rosemary Clement Moore. And this is the sequel to Texas Gothic. Okay, well, I don't know where that book went, but it doesn't really matter. But Texas Gothic, those characters, their cousin is in this one. Daisy Goodnight can talk to the dead is not the result of a head injury or some near-death experience. She was just born that way, and she's really good at it. Good enough to help the police solve the occasional homicide. But helping the local authorities clear cold cases is one thing. Being whisked out of a chemistry class by the FBI, flown to the scene of a murder kidnapping in Minnesota, that's the real deal. Before the promotion can go to Daisy's head, she's up to her neck in trouble. The spirits are terrified. There's a real living girl in danger when Daisy is kidnapped by a crime boss with no scruples about using magic, and Daisy to get what he wants. It looks like hers is the next soul on the line. Yeah. We are just like coming up with the sequels. The next book here is another sequel, and that is Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. And this is the sequel to City of Ghosts, which I have right here. And I'm going to be telling you about this book since this is like the sequel, you know, spoilers, no good. Hi, baby. Can you hear him? He wants pets. I can't right now, boo-boos. Come here. Are you gonna tell them about the book? No, you just want to sit on it? Yeah, basically. So, ever since Cass almost drowned, okay, she did drown, but she doesn't like to think about it. She can pull back the veil that separates the living from the dead and enter the world of spirits. Her best friend is even a ghost. So things are already pretty strange. But they're about to get much stranger. When Cass's parents land a gig hosting a TV show about the world's most haunted places, the family heads off to Edinburgh, Scotland. Here, graveyards, castles, and secret passageways teem with the restless phantoms. And when Cass meets another girl who shares her gift, she realizes how much she still has to learn about the veil and herself. And she'll have to learn fast. The city of ghosts is more dangerous than she ever imagined. It's so good. It's so cute. It's a middle grade book, but I love it. Okay, so this is a book I recently just got, maybe a week ago. And that is It Aint Me Bae by Tilly Cole. And this is an adult romance. I know it's a very dark book. Dark meaning the situation of it is very taboo and dark. Sinning never felt so good. A fortuitous encounter, a meeting that should never have happened. Many years ago, two children from completely different worlds forged a connection, a fateful connection, an unbreakable bond that would change their lives forever. Salm knows only one way to live, under Prophet David's rule. In the commune she calls home, Salm knows nothing of life beyond her strict faith, nor of life beyond the fence that cages her, keeps her trapped in an endless cycle of misery, a life she believes she is destined to always lead, until a horrific event sets her free. Fleeing the absolute safety of all she has ever known, Salm is thrust into the world outside, a frightening world full of uncertainty and sin, into the protective arms of a person she believes she would never see again. River, Styx, Nash, knows one thing for certain in life. He was born and bred to wear a cut. Raised in a turbulent world of sex, Harleys, and drugs, Styx unexpectedly has the heavy burden of the Hades hangman gavel thrust upon him, and all at the ripe old age of 26, much to his rival's delight. Haunted by a crashing speech impediment, Styx quickly learns to deal with his haters. Powerful fists, an iron jaw, and skillful use of his treasured German blade has earned him a fearsome reputation as a man, not to be messed with in any the shadowy world of outlaw MC. A reputation that successfully keeps most people far away. Styx has one rule in life: never let anyone get too close. It's a plan he has stuck to for years, that is, until a woman is found injured on his lot. A woman who looks uncannily familiar, a woman who clearly does not belong in his world, yet a woman he feels reluctant to go to. Yes. Oh boy, was that hard for me to get out. I just kept stumbling over words. And this is a dark contemporary romance, new adult novel. Contains sexual situations, violence, sensitive and taboo subjects, offensive language, and mature topics. Yes. This next book is also a book that I got with the last book, but they're totally different. And that is She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd. And I just like the cover of it. But the summer is winding down San Diego. Veronica is bored, casually charismatic, and uninspired in her photography. Nico is insatiable, subversive, and obsessed with chaotic performance art. They're artists first, best friends second, but that was before Mick, delicate, lonely, magnetic Mick, the perfect subject, and Veronica's dream girl. The days are long and hot, full of adventure, and soon they are falling in love, falling so hard they never imagine what comes next. 1 fire, 2 murders, 3 drowning bodies, 1 suspect, 1 stalker. This is a summer they won't forget. The next is a book that I got a couple months ago. I pre-ordered this book, so I got it in the mail when it came out. And that is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I apologize. I butchered that for sure. 16-year-old Decca lives in fear in anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she becomes a member of her village. Already different from everyone else because of her unnatural intuition, Decca prays for red blood so she can finally feel like she belongs. But on the day of the ceremony, her blood runs gold, the gold of impurity, and Decca knows she will face a consequence worse than death. Then a mysterious woman comes to her with a choice: stay in the village and submit to her fate, or leave to fight for the emperor and an army of girls just like her. They are called Aleki near immortals with rare gifts, and they are the only ones who can stop the Empire's greatest threat. Knowing the dangers that lie ahead, yet yearning for acceptance, Decca decides to lead the only life she's ever known. But as she journeys to the capital to train for the biggest battle of her life, she discovers that the great walled city holds many surprises. Nothing and no one are quite what they seem to be, not even Decca herself. Yeah, and just look at the cover. It's so pretty. Okay, this next one I've been waiting to get from Book of the Month book box, and I got this like, what was it, a couple months ago? I forget which one, but it's like an intimidating read. But it's The Chestnut Man by Soren Svitro. Butchered it again. Sorry. I know this is like a horror thriller book. I mean, look how big that is. If you find one, he's already found you. A psychopath is terrorizing Copenhagen. His calling card is Chestnut Man, a handmade doll made of matchsticks and 2 chestnuts, which he leaves at each bloody crime scene. Examining the dolls, forensics makes a shocking discovery: a fingerprint belonging to a young girl, a government minister's daughter who had been kidnapped and murdered a year ago. A tragic coincidence or something more twisted? To save innocent lives, a pair of detectives must put aside their differences to piece together the Chestnut Man's gruesome clues, because it's clear that the madman is on a mission that is far from over and no one is safe. Ugh. Sounds so good. We're more than halfway there, but there's still a lot of books. Okay. Which is not a problem, I'm just saying. So the next book I have here is My Fallen Saint by Jay Kenner. And I got this in the Reveal Romance book box. And I recently stopped getting the romance book box. It's okay. It was just meh to me. Like, it wasn't the price. The price was fine. The trinkets didn't really, like, excite me, but the books were good. But anyway, this is about a brilliant investor with Mida's touch. Devlin Saint turned a modest inheritance fortune into billions, and now operates one of the world's foremost international philanthropic organizations. He's a man determined to help the underprivileged, to fight injustice, and to make the world a better place. And that, at least, is the truth. It's not, however, the full truth. Because Devlin Saint is a man with a dangerous secret, one he'll do whatever it takes to protect, and when investigator reporter Ellie Holmes turns her attention to an unsolved murder, she finds herself caught in a web of intrigue and passion as Devlin draws her closer and closer. But as the intensity and sensuality of the relationship grows, so does Ellie's suspicions, until she is no longer certain if the heat between her and Devlin is true, or only a facade he constructed to hide his dark and twisted secrets. It is for mature audiences only. Okay, so a book that I have from Book of the Month, March Book of the Month box, is Too Good to Be True by Carola Lovering. I don't know if I said that right. Sky Starling is overjoyed when her boyfriend Burke Michaels proposes after a whirlwind courtship. Though Sky seems to have the world at her fingertips, she's smart, beautiful, and from a well-off family. She's also battling crippling OCD ever since her mother's death when she was 11, and her romantic relationships have suffered as a result. But now Burke, handsome, older, and more emotionally mature than any man she's ever met before, says he wants her, forever. Except Burke isn't who he claims to be, and interspecified letters to his therapist reveal the truth. He's happily married and using Sky for his own deceptive ends. In the third perspective, set 30 years earlier, a scrappy 17-year-old named Heather is determined to end things with Burke, a local bad boy, and make a better life for herself in New York City. But can her adolescent love stay firmly in her past, or will he find his way into her future? On a collision course she doesn't see coming, Sky throws herself into a wedding planning as Brooke's scheme grows even more twisted. But of course, even the best laid plans can go astray, and just when you think you know where the story is going, you'll discover that there are more than one way to spin the truth. Yes. Excited. Ugh. So the next book I have here is from a book of the month of March also, and that is The Final Revival of Opalnev by Donnie Walton. Yes. And to be honest, the cover did not catch me at first. I had to read the description for it to hook me. Opal is fiercely independent, young woman pushing against the grain in her style and attitude. A black punk artist before her time. Coming of age in Detroit, she can't imagine settling for a comfortable job, despite her unconventional looks. Opal believes she can be a star, so when British singer-songwriter Neville Charles discovers her at a bar's amateur night, she takes him up on his offer to make a rock music together for the fledgling Rivington Records. In early 70s New York City, just as she's finding her niche as part of a flamboyant and funky creative scene, a rival band signed to her label brandishes a Confederate flag at a promotional concert. Opal's bold protest and the violence that ensues set off a chain of events that will not only change the lives of those she loves, but also be a deadly reminder that the repercussions are always harsher for women, especially black women who dare to speak their truth. Decades later, as Opal considers a 2016 reunion with Nev, music journalist S. Sonny Shelton seizes the chance to curate an oral history about her idols. Sonny thought she knew most of the stories leading up to the cult's duo's most publicized chapter, but as her interviewers dig deeper, a nasty new allegation from an unexpected source threatens to blow everything up. Yes. We have maybe like 7 books left. Yeah. Okay, so this is called The Initial Insult by Mindy McGinnis. And this is a book I got in the bookish box, and actually I turned the dust cover inside out because this is what it originally looks like, and I preferred this because, I don't know, something about that cover just makes me shiver and gives me a weird feeling. Anywho, welcome to Amilatad, Ohio, where your last name is worth more than money and secrets can be kept for a price. Tress Monitor knows that her family used to mean something until she didn't have a family anymore. When her parents disappeared 7 years ago while driving her best friend home, Tress lost everything. The entire town shuns her now that she lives with her drunken one-eyed grandfather at what locals call and refer to as the White Trash Zoo. Felicity Tornado has it all. Looks, money, and a secret. She knows that one misstep could send her tumbling from the top of the social ladder. And she's worked hard to make everyone forget that she was with the Monitors the night they disappeared. Felicity has buried what she knows so deeply that even she can't remember what it is. Only that she can't look at Tress without feeling shame and guilt. But she'll have to. Tress has a plan. A Halloween costume party at an abandoned house provides the ideal situation for Tress to pry the truth from Felicity, brick by brick. As she slowly seals her former best friend into a coal chute, Tress will have her answers or settle for revenge. It actually says here that in the first book of this duology, so it's gonna be a duology. Can't wait to see that. Okay, so the next book is a book from Book of the Month book box, and that is what I think people have been like raving about, but I haven't heard much of it since, but that's because that was in February, and that is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. And I did try to read this book, it just wasn't catching me, but I just don't feel like I had my best focus on this book at a time, and plus contemporary novels aren't really for me, but I do want to give it another shot. With her newly completed PhD in astronomy in hand, Grace Porter goes on a girls' trip to Vegas to celebrate. She's a straight-A, hard-working, high achiever. She is not the kind of person who goes to Vegas and gets drunkenly married to a woman whose name she doesn't know, until she does exactly that. This one beautiful, spontaneous moment upends Grace's carefully laid out life plans. Staggering under the weight of her parents' expectations, a struggling job market, and feelings of burnout, Grace flees from her home in Portland for a summer in New York with a wife she barely knows. In New York, she's able to ignore all the constant questions about her future and falls hard for a creative and gorgeous wife, Yuki Yamamoto. But when reality comes crashing in, Grace must face what she's been running from all along, the fear that makes us human and the need for connection, especially when navigating the messiness of adulthood. Yes, I didn't even get that far in when I was reading this. Yes, I know I'm really horrible and a terrible person for dog earing my pages. I probably got like a 30 pages in. You can see that. Yeah. I do want to try this again. I'm not DNFing it. Okay, so the next book is The Una Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, and it's about like, well, let me just tell you. Olive Taurus is used to being the unlucky twin. From inexplainable mishaps to recently off, her life seems to be almost comically jinxed. By contrast, her sister, Amy, is an eternal champion. She even managed to finance her entire wedding by winning a slew of contests. Unfortunately for Olive, the only thing worse than constant bad luck is having to spend the wedding day with the best man and her nemesis, Ethan Thomas. Olive braces herself for wedding hell, determined to put on a brave face, but when the entire wedding party gets food poisoning, the only people who aren't affected are Olive and Ethan. Suddenly there's a free honeymoon up for grabs, and Olive will be damned if Ethan gets to enjoy paradise solo. Agreeing to a temporary truce, the pair head for Maui. After all, 10 days of bliss are worth having to assume the role of loving newlyweds, right? But the weird thing is, Olive doesn't mind playing pretend. In fact, the more she pretends to be the luckiest woman alive, the more it feels like she might be. Sounds so good. So, okay, this next book I have is a sequel, but it's like more like a spin-off, and like you can read the books out of order because there's more in the series. But that is The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and this is the second book to The Wedding Date. Yeah. When freelance writer Nicole Patterson goes to a Dodgers game with her actor boyfriend, his man bun, and his bros, the last thing she expects is a scoreboard proposal. Saying no isn't the hard part. They've been dating for only 5 months, and he can't even spell her name correctly. The hard part is having to face a stadium full of disappointed fans. At the game with his sister, Carlos Elbarra comes to Nikki's rescue and rushes her away from a camera crew. He's even there for her when the video goes viral and Nikki's social media blows up, in a bad way. Nikki knows that in the wilds of LA, a handsome doctor like Carlos can't be looking for anything serious, so she embarks on an epic rebound with him. Filled with food, fun, and fantastic sex. When their glorified hookups start breaking the rules, one of them has to be smart enough to put on the brakes. Yes, and I did love The Wedding Date, so I can't wait to get to read this. And this is like a perfect summary. And once again, should I do like a reading vlog of like the perfect summaries that I'm reading? I don't know. Probably not, because I don't read like that. I read in the moment what I'm feeling. Not like a set list, not all the time. I'm babbling. Okay, next book is a book that I got in the Reveal Romance book box, and this is book 8 in the series, but you can read the books out of order. It's not like there'll be spoilers or anything. Otherwise, I don't think they would have sent me the book 8 in the series. But it's called Betrayed by A.K. Evans. Quinn Jacobs wasn't sure she agreed. After all, she had everything she needed. The perfect marriage, loads of cash, and not a care in the world, so it never dawned on her that she ended up in her current situation. Deceived and divorced. After being betrayed by her husband and best friend, Quinn has no choice but to pick herself up and move on. Tyson Reed might not have millions, but he's got one thing money can't buy. Loyalty. In the form of a large, loud, and in his business family, and dozens of friends. They're all his, and he wouldn't dream of changing that. The last thing Quinn needs is to hop into another relationship, but when Tyson shows up to install her new security system, she finds him irresistibly charming. As Quinn tries to find a way trust the man again, Tyson works to heal her battered heart. As a sting of betrayal begins to fade, Quinn learns that loyalty is something you can never be bought. Sounds good. This is also signed. We have 2 books left? I believe we have 2 books left. Next book is Happily Ever Afters by Elise Bryant. And I know this is like a cute contemporary, like, coming of age and college read. 16-year-old Tessa Johnson has never felt like the protagonist in her own life. She's really seen herself reflected in the pages of the romance novels she loves. The only place she's a true leading lady is in her own writing. in a swoony love story she shares only with Caroline, her best friend. When Tessa is accepted into the writing program at a prestigious art school, she's excited to finally let her stories shine. But when she goes to her first workshop, the words are gone. Fortunately, Caroline has a solution. Tessa just needs to find some inspiration in a real-life love story of her own, and she's ready with a list of romance novel-inspired steps to happily ever after. Nico, the brooding artist who looks like he walked out of one of Tessa's stories, is cast as the perfect Prince Charming, but Tessa checks off each item on the list. She gets further away from herself. She risks losing everything she cares about, including this surprising bond she develops with Sam, who lives across the street. She's on her way to having her own real-life love story, but is it the one she wants after all? Sounds so good, and it's so cute. I mean, just so cute is the cover. Once again, this will be a good summer read. And last, but not least, is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Isn't like the cover so intriguing? This is a story of an invisible. In my head, it was like, and this is a story all about how my life got flipped turned upside down, and I like to make it just sit right here. Let me tell you how let me tell you how I became the Prince of Bel-Air. There you go. Okay, I didn't want to butcher that and leave it off like that. Okay, pretty and popular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Singe, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about. And 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project. At first, just to cast doubt on the original investigation. But soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal innocent. And the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers. And now her life might be in danger. Sounds good, and there also is a sequel to this book. It says on the back, it's called Good Girl, Bad Blood. If you see that right there. Yeah. This is a fairly short book. How many pages? 387. Okay, it looks smaller than what I thought. Okay, so those are all the books for this book haul that I accumulated, and it's a mess on my floor right now. I don't know if I can pick everything up. I guess we can try. Okay, do you see all that? Okay, so I can't fit them all in a frame because that was about to be horrific. But that was my book haul, and thank you guys so much for watching, and like and subscribe for more videos by me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye guys.